Can you tell us about this India retreat?
Yeah. So I was going to go to India for, I think it's 6 weeks. And in those 6 weeks I do open talks in Tiruvannamalai. I do open talks in Goa and in Rishikesh. And I do a retreat in Tiruvannamalai for 7 days. The open talks are by donation, so anyone can come. You can come to as many or as little as you like. And the retreat is for 7 days, and obviously you have to pay for the retreat and the accommodation. So you can go both ways. If you've got less money, then you can go to the open talks. If you've got enough money, then you can also join the retreat.
Who is this place you have a retreat on?
So it's at the bottom of Arunachala, which is a very famous hill in Nonduality. It's the hill that Ramana Maharshi lived in and where his ashram is, close to his ashram. And Ramana Maharshi had there's very fond feelings towards the hill. There's lots of stories around the hill. Ramana Maharshi felt it was very spiritual and very silent and created silence in you. And he also felt it was very Shiva energy. And then there's all types of gossip. I've heard gossip where people have said there's aliens inside, or all different types of things, because the hills around Tiruvannamalai are also odd looking. It looks like a giant has placed pebbles together to make these big hills. So there's all types of mystical stories around them. And there's lots of sadhus and ashrams around the hill, and lots of teachers go there. There's a massive Hindu temple in town as well, which is very beautiful, where there's lots of ceremonies and there's these big statues and altars and shrines. It's nice.
What is the teaching? Do you do meditation and the talks?
Yeah.
2 times per day?
When I do the open talks, I do 2 hours of a talk and then question and answers. So it might be like about half an hour of sitting in silence at the beginning of the talk. That's something that I often do. Then I do an introduction and then I open it to questions and answers. But it's a lot more formal than when I do retreats. In retreats I'm a lot more relaxed. I sit in a circle. But when I do open talks, I obviously have to have a chair at the front, and if someone wants to come and talk, they have to come up to the front, because sometimes the open talks are, I think last time there was like 70, 80 people, and you can't maintain a group if you don't have some form of structure. So it's a lot different to being on a retreat. In a retreat it's a lot more relaxed, a lot more personable, and you get to know each other a lot better, and there's a more intimate group, and I break down the structure a lot more. I let people have a democracy. They can vote if they want it to be in silence. They can vote for things they want to do, rather than me dictating what has to be done. Whereas when I do open talks, I have to be very firm, because there's no place for that. If you've got a 2-hour talk, you can't really everyone vote whether they want this or that. I just do it very structured. I sit at the front, I do an introduction, I sit silently, I do an introduction, and then I invite anyone up for questions and answers. And I'm quite firm to that structure. I don't have chit-chat in the room. If you want to talk to me, you have to come and sit at the front with me. So, yeah.
Someone say your teaching changed a little bit in India. Is that true?
Changed the last time I went to India?
Is it like something with a place?
No, I don't think it's anything to do with the place. I think it's very practical. As when I did talks in India before, I'm doing it to a large group. As when I do retreats and when I talk on live stream, I can be a lot more flexible. When it's live stream, it's just me. There might be 1 or 2 other people in the room, but not very many other people in the room. And I can be flexible. I can say silly things. I can do silly things. I can stop for long periods. And the same on retreat. You could be a lot more flexible with the structure, with the way you do things. You can be a lot more inclusive of everyone. But when you do a public talk, you have to have structure, otherwise the audience will eat you.
As a tourist, is there something you recommend people to go and see up there? Like Ramanas
Ashram.
It's on the ashram, isn't?
Yeah, the ashram's at the bottom of the hill, so it's near the ashram, and then up in the hills are the caves where he lived for many years. For a long time, he lived in caves alone.
Yes.
No, I have no recommendations as a tourist. Like no, I mean, there's recommendations I could give from being there before, like the ashram, and the what's that called in the centre of town? I said the word earlier. Forgotten the name. But I don't have any recommendations as such. But India is so different. The whole thing is an experience. So going to the ashram or going up to the cave, that's an experience. But just going to India is an experience because it's so different from Europe, America, or Australia, or more Western countries. It's really a unique way of living there. You really have to surrender because life is so much more in your face. Like a lot of the shops are right on the street edge, right next to the road. So people are sort of walking on the road, the cars are on the road, the shops are almost on the road. There's lots of sounds, there's lots to intake, there's all different religions, there's so much colour, there's all different people from different areas of life. So just going to India is really quite a unique experience. But yeah, there are places that you could go to visit. But I think the whole of India is an experience in itself.
If someone wants to go to this retreat, there's a possibility to live outside the retreat center, and you can live inside.
Yeah.
Is there some place you can find the information about all these things and contact person?
Yeah, Amelia, who's on my website, you can contact her and she'll give you information of where you can stay. But if you're new to India and it's you've never been to an Asian country before and it's the first time you've ever been to India, I really recommend going with someone because India is really quite different from Western culture. And it's nice to have someone to show you the ropes. The first time I went to India, I had someone who taught me how to be in India because it's not like Europe. There were many things that I didn't know. You have to cover up as a woman. There's bartering. We don't have that so much in Europe. So things aren't a fixed price. You have to barter for them. Different ways to get taxis, like when you come out of the airport you don't just take a taxi, you get a registered taxi, so you go and sign up for a registered taxi which is protected by the government. There's loads of things like that you don't know if you go by yourself, so I'd recommend going with someone that's been before or go with someone and really read a lot of information about India and how to manage the day-to-day experience because it's just very different.
I think I heard that it will be a taxi from the organizer.
Yeah. Yeah, you can also get your hotels to send you taxis as well. That's often what I do. Or the organizer can send you a taxi. Yeah. And there's lots of things like that. And the other thing that a lot of people don't know is that in some parts of Indian culture, it's not okay to say no. They can't really say no. They have to say yes to everything. They don't say yes, actually. What they do is they wobble their head and like this. And that kind of means yes. And if you're new to India, you'd think that somebody... So if you say, the toilet's over there, and they go like that means yes, but it doesn't mean yes. Like there's little things like this that you could really get in a pickle about, like if you weren't aware of how to deal with Indian culture.
That's great. I think we are finished.
Oh, yeah?
Thank you very much.
Oh, with pleasure, Esbjørn. Thank you.
Yeah.